Welcome to the Freewrite, a show about the art of songwriting, storytelling, and the creative process. My name is Travis Barrett, and every week I sit down with a writer, musician, or other creative to talk about process, inspiration, and creating something from nothing. My guest today is Dan Duling. Dan earned his PhD in playwriting and criticism from the University of Texas, Austin. His plays have been produced throughout the U.S. and honored with a number of awards, including the Oregon Playwrights Award for Stranglehold. A former journalist, Dan has written for LA Weekly, Los Angeles Times, and Los Angeles Herald-Examiner. His other writing includes works for Oregon Public Broadcasting, Nickelodeon, MTV, and Comedy Central. Last Lives, a feature based on his screenplay, originally premiered on the Sci-Fi Channel. Dan is also the scriptwriter for The Pageant of the Masters in Laguna Beach. The Pageant of the Masters is a phenomenal production. I can't recommend enough checking it out if you haven't been or if you're not familiar with it. Please check it out. It's something that I've been lucky enough to go to every year almost for the past 10, 15 plus years. And I love it. I love every summer when it's time to go to the pageant. The Pageant of the Masters is my main July holiday that I get most excited about, going with my mom. So anyway, Dan is the scriptwriter, and he's been doing it for a long time. He's very good at it. I'm blown away by the way it all comes together. So anyway, if you're familiar or not, I think you'll get a lot out of this, out of hearing Dan share about creativity, meaning, art. It's a lovely conversation that I'm very thankful to have had. So please stick around and enjoy my conversation with Dan Duling. Dan, thank you so much for being a guest on the Freewrite. I'm excited to talk to you today.
And I'm excited to talk to you too, Travis.
Heck yeah. Well, I want to start just broadly with maybe a short introduction to yourself, but also the way that we know each other, which is the Pageant of the Masters in Laguna Beach at the Festival of the Arts. If you could give maybe like a quick overview to those that maybe haven't heard of it or aren't familiar.
It surprises me how many people, even here in Laguna Beach, haven't heard of the Pageant of the Masters, but it is truly one of a kind. It is a show about tableau vivant, the art of living pictures done on an outdoor stage at night. What could possibly go wrong? With a cast of hundreds and volunteers working diligently behind the scenes to keep this show that's been going for almost 90 years in just a remarkable condition. I would not be involved with this show if I hadn't come all the way back in 1981 to a rehearsal and seen how much dedication was being devoted to the art of illusion, the sense that this show reaches past our natural inclinations to feel like art is out there and we're in here, and say art is for everybody. Art is something that touches us, and it's so human, and that never gets old. But I wouldn't still be doing it if I weren't working with just an extraordinary family of incredibly dedicated theatrical artists who could rival anything done anywhere when it comes to stage illusion for its own sake and done under remarkable conditions. And in your bailiwick, we have an orchestra, which this year is 20 people in it. It's a union hire. It's a very good payday for our orchestra, who have the possibility, if they don't want days off, to perform for almost 60 nights straight. And it's a good gig, and the audience and its relationship to our orchestra is just really exciting. They cheer the orchestra after the show. They do a little chase music to get audiences enthused and out as they go out the door, and it's really gratifying. And behind that orchestra and our wonderful maestro, Albee, he's been with us now for a few years, but it's really our arsenal of professional composers who then work with the director, Diane Chalice Davy, and with me to a lesser extent. It used to be very much the two of us ganging up on them. Now it's more like we pick and choose, and we all have input. but
Yeah.
it is a wonderful collaboration. And these composers, now we have, I think, six this year. We've had more, we've had a couple less occasionally, but it's largely due to either the complexity of the kinds of music or the things that are strong suits for our composers. And each of them is a professional composer working all the time in this town. And they keep coming back to work on the pageant because, and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn to say, because they love it. They love the collaboration with us. They love that the show is so engaging and such a good showcase for their music because
Yeah.
the orchestra really sounds good. We have an excellent sound system out here, and you have to have. When I think back to 1981, it was much more sort of seat of the pants. It was a decent sound system, but it didn't have any of the kinds of controls that we have now. And we have a
Sure.
wonderful mixer up there in the booth at the back of the bowl, who is running the show every night, and it is an integral part of something that is larger than all of the individual parts, and I think lets the audience make a place for it in their hearts.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I'm so speaking for myself, I've been lucky enough to be able to go many times. I think we were trying to figure out just a couple of weeks ago when I was there, and we were talking, like, I think I've been going for at least 10, 15 years.
And yet you still have to bring your mom.
Still every time. Yep. Yep.
I say that with love to your mom.
Yes. We make a date out of it. We'll go to like Zinc Cafe before and then walk over. So I've had the fortune of being able to go quite often, and one of, if not my favorite part about going, and the thing that keeps me coming back, is that I find it very inspiring both during and after, and I'm wondering how much the idea of being inspiring might go into writing it, go into creating it. Is that something that you're trying for, or is that just a lovely secondhand thing that happens to me by being there?
It's something that I am absolutely trying for. I have agendas for the pageant which are benign, but they are absolutely about being welcoming, being engaging, and encouraging audiences to connect with the show, and certainly the musical element of the Pageant of the Masters is one of the ways in which we can really touch people. We can engage them, and we can expose them to kinds of music that they very possibly would have never heard otherwise.
Sure. I'm thinking too, in like the with this year's, it's kind of a walk through a number of different artists, and each artist, like the time that we spend with them, feels unique. Each one feels like it stands apart, and I think a great deal of that is the music, but also I'm thinking of different like quotes or different things that are said, like maybe on behalf of the artist or by the artist. How much of that, I'm assuming here, that was all of that taken directly from them? Are all of the quotes direct
Basically,
quotes?
that was the challenge that the director set for me was we want this show to be in the artist's own words, with people lip syncing to quotes from the artists performed by other actors in most cases, because we had to do it in stages. We had to have all of those recordings. Then we had to have blocking rehearsals. Then we had to have blocking with business that we would then cater to the way that the audience is responding to, or we hope that they will respond to the artist's story, and tell it as much as possible in the artist's own words. And sometimes that is virtually impossible. With the work of Vermeer, he has virtually no record of his personal journals, personal diaries, even his bills. He was an extraordinary artist, but he had 11 children in that house with him in a small Dutch house, does not have a lot of room for being one of the great Dutch masters, painting scenes of absolute beauty and tranquility and stillness. And so that became, in his instance, the fact that he didn't ever leave us with any personal journals or quotable quotes. He was well prior to anybody wandering around taking down notes or holding their phone up to someone to talk to them. But so that was an instance where that part of it starts the show off with the fact that we don't, it also pays homage to the people that we are not able to include in the show, in part because they perhaps were never identified by their names, or they didn't sign their work, or their work was lost and then discovered again, but unidentified to attribute to someone. And that's part of the mystery of art, that we've done shows which really focused on some of the mysteries behind how art was created, where it was created, how it was lost, how it was found. And all of these are just great storytelling opportunities. And I'll never turn down a good story, but in this case, the research involved with finding quotable quotes from many of these artists basically tripled my workload, because there was just a lot of searching to be done and then seeing how that could fit. And
it seems very daunting from the perspective of someone from the outside. Like,
right, I would dislocate my arm patting myself on the back, but we survived it, and I'm just thrilled that the audience is enjoying the fruits of that labor.
What is that process like when you know you want to do a section on XYZ artists and you're like, okay, time to find something that will inspire that they've said or written down?
It's just a lot of sifting through quotable quotes, and if there are books about them, and if there are books by them, sometimes there's just so much that winnowing it down is the big challenge. In most cases with artists from antiquity, you're likely to get a small amount. Now with someone like Leonardo, there are all of his notebooks, and there is no shortage of that. But at the same time, with Leonardo, we were taking a different tack. And this is, I don't think a spoiler, but simply to say that we wanted to have an opening and closing of the show that would make a point about the clash between art now, art then, and how we bridge that gap. And also how we, as participants in the art experience, welcome it into our own sense of discovery.
Sure.
I mean, I love the fact that art is intentionally completely up to the individual. And I try to make that point in the show without hammering people over the head with it, that, it will wait for us.
Talk to me about like foreshadowing, and maybe this is I was lucky enough to be able to see it twice this year, and I was picking up on, maybe of course more the second time I saw it, as often is the case with foreshadowing, but I'm just curious broadly, like, again, without getting into spoilers or anything, is that something that, how intentional is tying the beginning to the end? And like,
in this instance, that was, I mean, Diane Chalice Davy, our extraordinary director and a Renaissance woman of the arts and of theater, and certainly of the pageant. She and I have now worked together for 32 years as director and as scriptwriter. And that is a privilege that I will never take for granted and will always cherish, because she is the driving force, not only between us, but also with all the other elements of this show. And this is a show with unbelievable amounts of technical and stagecraft elements that have to be coordinated within an
Sure.
inch of their lives, with things, set changes being done in the dark on a stage at night, with music playing, and very little visibility for the crew. They really have to be on their game, and
Hmm.
it is breathtaking and suspenseful in watching it multiple times. That
Sure.
foreshadowing of what else could go wrong, but amazingly, and I give a D as the director, and I will call her D because that is the way we know her here at the pageant. She anticipates every possible thing that could go wrong and
Mm.
also just massages and tweaks and fine tunes things throughout the run of the show. She doesn't finish it and say, okay, that's done. Now let's do it 50 more times. Each night she's looking for ways that she could tweak something or make
Mm.
it just a little bit more subtle or make it pop a bit more. It just depends on what's going on. And back to the variety of music in the show, it is definitely our emotional guide to these stories. I can do only so much with their quotes, with our wonderful narrator, Richard Doyle's narration that I've written for him. And I love writing for him as a playwright, writing for a wonderfully gifted actor who can do amazing things in making everyone in the audience feel like he's talking just to them.
Mm.
That is just a treat. And he's really happy this summer because he saw, before I had the distance on it, what the possibilities of the show had.
Mm.
I was mostly in the weeds and trying to say,
Sure.
oh my God, what are we going to get this person to say that leads to this particular artwork
Yeah.
and somehow sums up some important aspect of that career? Because it's like painting by numbers during a lightning storm. You get flashes, you get drama, but you aren't always sure that you're telling the whole story.
Yeah.
And that's certainly what I devote myself to. And Dee is again the guiding light. She'll tell me when I've finally given her a draft that does what she wants to do.
Yeah. I want to go through some quotes or half quotes from that I just scribbled down in my notes during the pageant, and
And I have to
maybe
identify them.
not as much of a quiz as much as like a just maybe an explanation or story as to why that one stood out to you,
Yeah.
because these are the ones that stood out to me. Monet said something about art isn't to understand, art is to love.
And that was a chance to highlight the differences between three of the great modern masters of French Impressionism,
Mm.
and very different individuals, but they were all close friends and they all drank at the same bars or commiserated when some had some money and someone didn't. And
Sure.
they made their own individual contributions. And the romantic element of Monet was largely focused on the beauties of nature. I mean, he never lost his love affair with nature, and his many of his paintings don't have people in them, but when they do, it's as often as not, it's his girlfriend who eventually became his wife and was his model for so many figures in so many paintings. Camille, he would really transform a scene in a forest
Mm.
into something that felt the kind of romance which then our composer would bring and invest in that painting, so that the combination of story, quotes, and music really creates something that's more personal to the audience member, because they're filling in a lot of blanks for themselves, and we aren't, this year in particular, telling them as
Mm.
much as we might normally have, because we're letting the artists be ambiguous, be flip, be
Sure.
heartbroken,
Yeah.
be all of the things that they experienced or a few of the things that they experienced during their careers.
Yeah.
And it's really just trusting one another. I trust Richard to see how that moment in the narration will convey an emotion and encourage a feeling. I trust our composers to see when they look at the painting and let it speak to them, and Dee guiding them as well with as much guidance as they feel they need. In most cases, they nail it very quickly. In some instances, not. I think back when the scriptwriter was much more involved in the give and take with the director and the composer, I think as often as not I was complicating it or just creating unintentionally more of a three-headed monster as opposed to two people in sync, achieving what they want. And it's still fun. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy these composers, and now we've worked together in some cases for almost 20 years, and it's a privilege and great fun, something I never imagined. Briefly, my background was acting into directing into playwriting, getting to have my plays produced, winning some awards, getting scholarships to take me through a master's and a PhD in playwriting and screenwriting, and just working with extraordinary people as an actor where all the fun is, as a director where all the responsibility is, and where the playwright has all of those opportunities to try to say something that he hasn't seen or heard a million times before on stage.
How does that all influence the current role as writing the scripts?
I think that Dee appreciates the fact that I'm bringing all of my playwriting skills to this show, in that a playwright has to have a sixth sense of how you can convey things succinctly if that is your goal. And in this case, it absolutely is, with the maximum opportunity for some kind of an emotional response. The trickiest thing being laughter, but I'm not one to pass up a good joke if there is one, but at the same time, that's rarely my number one goal. And oftentimes those end up on the cutting room floor anyway, because Dee's aesthetic is a bit more sophisticated than mine. But at the same time, that's the fun of it. I mean, I'm also writing for everybody working backstage on this show. Everybody in the cast just chills me. It just makes me tear up almost.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I just want to take a quick break from the pod to say that I'm posting bonus content of every episode on my Patreon page. So please go check it out, Travis Barrett on Patreon. There will be bonus content for every episode. So please go check out Patreon, not only for the bonus content, but to also make it possible to continue making this show. Now back to the episode. Okay, quote number 2 for this portion of the quiz.
Right.
Picasso said something about the goal of life is to find your gift and give it away.
Right. The goal is to find it. The purpose of life is to find it. The goal is to give it away. And it's a wonderful quote. But that said, Picasso was a major wrestling match. I think Dee's first version of it was clocking out at about 14 minutes. Now it's about 8. And I think all to the better, because we did compress it a lot, but we also, it made it a little easier to skirt around some of the more provocative and I think destructive elements of Picasso's behavior and life experience, and quotable quotes that, he will probably never take back, but for a modern audience could be really a turnoff.
Yeah.
And we have to acknowledge that he was one of the greatest artists of the 20th century, for sure. Certainly the most prolific. And it was a wrestling match, though. And finding a wonderful actor by the name of Herbert Siguenza, member
Hmm.
of Culture Clash, who I've admired for years, he did his own one-man show about Picasso many
Oh,
years
cool.
ago down in San Diego and has taken it to other places in the world. And I was excited about the idea of having him be our voice for Picasso.
Yeah.
And he was terrific. And I think
Hmm.
it's a good um, way of saying we may be just pretending, but we're going to be as faithful as we can to the spirit
Mm.
of the art and the artists, both the good and the bad and the extraordinary,
Yeah.
and hopefully encourage some of our audience members to go want to learn more about him. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think our agenda is specifically education but it should be a benefit. And the best education is the kind that makes you want to find out more.
Yeah. Okay, number 3. I this one's murkier in my notes.
I do murky.
Live forever, create something that will.
It's the very end of the show. It is a
Is that a
direct
spoiler?
quote.
Should we not include this? I can cut that.
No, it's
Is it
okay.
okay?
It's okay. Um, it's it's a favorite moment in the show for me.
Yeah,
It's in a weird context, and we won't spoil that.
sure.
But it touches on what I feel the pageant encourages,
Yeah,
which is to appreciate things that get to us.
yeah. That's powerful.
And it's a nice moment in the show.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's one of the things for me that always, maybe it's just my nature of being more existential a lot of the time. But there's something
Well,
about art. There's something about seeing art from hundreds of years ago that it's such a, this show is such a vessel for making meaning, which I'm more or less obsessed with, the way that humans make sense of the world and make sense of things. And so to see these pieces in this art, and then to at the end be hearing about the goal isn't to live forever, but to create something that, like, it's so interesting the way that people have made meaning throughout history.
well, and that is the artist's challenge, whether they articulate it or even necessarily believe it. But the reality is, we won't be here
Yeah.
forever,
Yeah.
and art does transcend generations, centuries, periods, or it disappears and we never ever heard of it or never had a chance to appreciate it.
Yeah.
But there is art all around us,
Mm.
and an important part. Sorry, I feel
No.
like I'm talking to my daughters.
Yeah.
the uh, the the experience of art and figuring out what touches you and what really sticks with you
Hmm.
is so personal.
Yeah.
And I like to think of our audience as having personal experiences
Yeah.
through this vehicle of the fakiest kind of presentation of art you could imagine, that somehow still has movement and meaning
Yeah.
and stillness and
Sure.
grace.
Yeah. The last of my artist quotes that I wrote down.
Oh, good. The test is almost over.
The test is almost over. And I'm looking at my notes. I didn't even write down a quote, but I wrote down notes about the section on Van Gogh. I feel like Van Gogh will be included fairly regularly, fairly frequently.
he has been in a number of shows, and he is possibly the greatest tragedy.
That's why I brought it up. There's something about his story, his art, his story that is so inspiring and yet tragic and meaningful, and something about the words.
It's so compressed.
Yeah.
His writings to his brother Theo, all of this material gave us a wonderful opportunity to put it in his words. And then just the sheer cumulative pain.
Oh my gosh.
It brings me to tears every night.
Yeah.
And that is, I give credit to the music, because the quotes can break your heart, but the music can turn you to a pile of mush.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think the next day I ended up on the couch on my computer on like a Van Gogh art website, going through it and talking to my partner Dominique about it, and just like getting emotional on the couch, scrolling through his paintings and like talking about stuff I've heard about. And there's like, I was like, I don't know why I get emotional when I think about Van Gogh. Like I don't. And then the more I talked about it, I was like, oh, I guess I know why. I guess these are all the reasons why.
Never sold anything? Hey, we've got that in common.
Yeah, cheers. Okay, well, thank you for humoring me with our artist quote portion of the.
This show put me through the ringer, and that's probably why I'm also. It's my 45th pageant. That's more than half of all the pageants that there have ever been.
Yeah.
I didn't imagine in 1981, when the director at that time, Glenn Etchison, called me out of the blue, had been referred by another playwright, and he was looking for a new scriptwriter. And he's describing these tableaux vivants, which is a footnote in theater history, not to be taken seriously, has more to do with burlesque than it does with art. But he just described this outdoor amphitheater and all these volunteers. Yeah. And it sounded like some kind of community theater nightmare. But he said, come to a rehearsal. And I came to that rehearsal, and I was in love with the space. Yeah. The Irvine Bowl is a fantastic performance space for this show more than anything else. I can't really say that it's a great space for anything else, but it is the home of the pageant since 1941. Yeah. And it is kind of magical. Here we are 6 blocks from the beach, looking at art, listening to beautiful music, hearing stories and the voices of, or the words of artists, and being touched by the communal experience. Yeah. And it's just the sort of thing that I would have never imagined myself doing, but once given the opportunity to. I've written for 3 different narrators over time, and I'm just so privileged to have been a part of the pageant family.
Yeah, it's lovely.
And because I'm so old, I choke up these days that much more.
Sure. Yeah. There is something too about the pageant. I don't know if you've had this experience. I would have to assume so. There's some, when describing it to a person who isn't familiar with it, it sounds like such a novelty act. It's hard. It doesn't come across that way to me at all. And I wonder if you could speak to that. Like how is it the case that when talking about it to someone who's never been or never heard of it,
I live in Hollywood, and my most cynical, jaded friends laugh at the idea of the show. It just sounds absurd, and I've shared that until I actually came and experienced it and realized that the combination of music, stage illusion done on a Broadway scale, and impeccable timing, and things move along and yet things don't move, It's just a many contradictions all
Mm,
unifying into a shared experience
yeah,
for people that you know getting someone down from Los Angeles to see it, they just can't believe this has been going on for
sure.
90 years almost. And
Hmm.
it has really been the goal of certainly director Diane Chalice Davy and myself to make sure this show doesn't just start repeating itself, doesn't just
Mm,
look for, oh, that worked, let's do it again. But every year we wanted our audiences to know that if they came back, they would see a very different show. They might see pieces that they saw a few years back, but in a
yeah.
different context. And context as a playwright for me is everything. It's the difference between tragedy and comedy, the
Mm,
same exact moment done in a different way with different values. And one minute you're laughing and the next minute you're crying. And that never gets old for me.
yeah. I wonder if, well, I wanted to ask you too about kind of on that note. There's a lot of different mediums, location, effects, things that you do to tell this story, to showcase this art throughout the bowl in a number of different ways. I wonder if there's anything from this year that especially stands out to you as a maybe something new or a favorite effect or type of showcase of the art.
Well, I have to say the opening and closing of the show is new.
Hmm.
They've never let me get away with something like that before. And I am nothing if not someone who is looking for a chance to shake, rock the boat a little bit, but
Yeah.
not in a not in a subversive way, just really in a let's don't play it safe if there's a chance that we might actually create something. And I speak from personal experience that those moments when we've been able to introduce our audiences to, say, art from Central Africa or the tribute to the Harlem Renaissance that we did a few years back
Hmm.
just touched me so deeply because it really gave me a sense of this is who I want the pageant to touch is as many people as possible.
Yeah.
And universally, uh, when we were able to do a tribute to two wonderfully brilliant and lovely artists from up in East LA,
Hmm.
who were muralists and then fine artists in their own right. A few years back, when we did a tribute to them in two pieces
Hmm.
by uh, these Chicano artists, I just felt like, okay, this is something our audience has never seen
Yeah.
before, and I'm not trying to hit them over the head with it. I just want to say, hey, this is really cool. This is a great story. It has surprise, it has humanity, it has beautiful artwork, and it reminds us that we don't live in a bubble. There's
Hmm.
a sense, I think, in Laguna Beach that it is a very real bubble. And
Yeah.
now all of those bits of bubble are made out of $1,000 bills, but it's a bubble all the same. And we don't want to burst someone's bubble, but we want to let them know that we're all in this bubble together.
Yeah. How do you go about choosing the medium best for the piece? There's lots of different, again, with like the different locations, with the different ways that you can present something. What is the thought process there?
Um, Usually it's just a matter of logistics. The turntable stage is ideally suited for scenes that are either static or sculptural,
Hmm.
or in some cases, the artist's studio. The niches on either side of the main curtain work for occasional reveals. In more typical pageants, you'd probably find some sculptural elements revealed there as part of a larger,
Hmm.
conceptual special end of Act One
Sure.
event. Um, we used to use up on top of the stage, over the up on the roof, and I always liked that because that's just so dramatic and dynamic, especially if you see a beautiful sculpture appear,
Yeah.
on a lift out of nowhere up there, and
Hmm.
lit so dramatically against the night sky. The stage left hill, interestingly enough, this year we did not use,
Yeah.
um, in part because we put together the plan for the whole show. I was writing the show somewhat sequentially, but not completely sequentially.
Hmm.
And um, Dee, the director, did a timing of the show as she had imagined it with, she everything is literally by the second.
Yeah.
And it was coming out about 5 minutes longer than we felt was a comfortable length.
Hmm.
There is a real incentive in today's sped up culture to assume that attention spans, uh, probably, I mean, someone told me they thought that 85 minutes was sort of like the maximum, and we go for closer to 90 minutes. And we've sometimes gone under that, we've sometimes gone over that, but
Yeah.
we were looking at the fact that the show is running 5 minutes longer than we intended. And unfortunately, one of my favorite sequences in the show had to be cut.
Mm.
And this was for the people who had been working on that part of the show. It was not finished. And the real reasoning was that the music had not been written. And
Mm.
since that would save the money of not having that music written and then not
Sure.
used, that it was a kind of last minute switch. And
Yeah.
I don't think the audience seeing this show will be aware of what was intended to be there at all.
Yeah.
The flow of the show is so seamless
Hmm.
that you're just carried along. And sometimes you make connections between what just happened and what just happened after that. And I love the fact that it's an adventure for an audience to be presented with something that they can sort of have their own experience individuated. And
Yeah.
I believe in that. And I
Yeah.
also believe in the recidivism of our incredible volunteers working in every department and in our casts. You have two complete casts that alternate a week on, a week off all summer. That's a huge, huge um, dedication of time
Yeah.
and travel. And they do it because they love it, and we love them for it. And they love us because they care about it as much as we do.
Yeah. You mentioned writing it sequentially or in order. I'm curious what yeah, again, just like if you could give a little glimpse into the writing process when it is the early stages of trying to find quotes, trying to find, art pieces or tie these pieces together and tell the story. Like it's it is such a feat. And I want
Well,
to know.
every show develops differently. This one,
Yeah, tell me
because
about
of
this one.
the responsibility of trying to put as much as possible in the artist's own words,
Hmm.
uh, the selection, when the director and I sequence the show and figure out how this leads to that, to that, to that, or
Yeah.
how sometimes this is a real surprise because of what we just saw before, and then how we will get as much variety from the music to fit the variety of art that we have in the show. It's really that the director and I carry this whole show in our heads
Yeah.
in terms of the flow of it, and the belief that the audience will go with perhaps an abrupt move from one century to another without it being distressing, unless that's the intention, is to suddenly have that juxtaposition
Mm.
that's really unusual. But with this one, the conceit at the beginning and the end of the show was still in process right till the very end, because
Hmm.
I didn't intend on writing the end at the end, but there was just so much research work leading up to that I was just trying to find for the show and the director and the imagined performers that we would have doing those voices and the cast members that we would have performing those roles on stage, that we would just have so many logistics to juggle that I guess one of the shorter answers is I trust the director to know what she's trying to accomplish and to do it impeccably as she always does.
Yeah.
And um, that makes our collaboration just stunning, because I can give her something and know that if it's not working now, it will be working in a day or so.
Yeah.
And uh, if it's really not working, she'll cut it before we get to that point.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's easy, sometimes that's difficult, but we're both equally committed to the overall success of the show. And
Yeah. Could you tell me more about the collaboration, like, especially in those earlier stages, what that's like?
well, let me just back up to when Dee took over in 1995.
Sure.
As the director, she'd been working here in costuming and then as the assistant director for many years before that. And
Hmm.
the smartest thing this festival board ever did was to hire her as the next director, because she is truly a remarkable artist. And I just was thrilled because we've always had a sensitivity that we share, a common sense of humor that we share, and just a general, I think, trust that our visions are very compatible. And
Yeah.
once we had a couple of shows under our belt, I think she began to realize we can really make this a much more ambitious show in terms
Hmm.
of the kinds of things that we can explore. Her approach to themes for shows was another way of letting the audience know that they won't see the same show they saw last year. If
Yeah.
they see something they saw in a show a few years back, it will be in a different context.
Yeah.
And as a playwright, as I said before, and we'll say again, I love messing with context, because context turns tragedy into comedy, vice
Yeah.
versa. It gives us the whole emotional range of human experience.
Mm.
And we fit a lot of it into each show. And some of those themes that we've done have been just revelatory, because Dee was sort of daring me to see how adventurous I could be, and I was daring her to see how adventurous she was willing to be. And it's been just a fabulous, fabulous collaboration as far as the evolution of the writing. Once the show is up on the board in the sequence of things,
Yeah.
we're imagining the flow of the show, and we're seeing how this may be very serious, but now we need a light touch, and now we need something else. And also, if there's a larger overriding theme that needs to be referenced again, we want to keep the audience's sense that this is not happenstance, that
Mm.
they are in good hands, and we respect them, and we want them to have a chance to experience art
Yeah.
in a different way.
What was a favorite theme of a past year?
Of the past years or
What?
year,
Yeah,
or
yeah. Of a past pageant, what was a favorite theme of yours?
I have liked many of them, but the Muse, I don't have the date in front of me, but the
That's
Muse
fine.
was about women artists and the art of women in art. And it was it was heaven to me. I'm the resident feminist atheist, and that really touched me
Yeah.
and gave me the opportunity to celebrate artists that most of our audience would be somewhat familiar with, but I wanted them to be touched by the stories. I always want them to be touched by the stories because
Sure.
that's what I do.
It's the whole thing.
But that one was very special. And
Yeah.
then when we did our tribute to the Harlem Renaissance
Yeah.
about 4 years ago, that and specifically to two female sculptors,
Mm.
uh, Augusta Savage in particular, was a new heroine for me. And a few years before that, I felt like I had been one of the people to help resurrect and rediscover the art of Edmonia Lewis, another African American sculptor whose story was both revelatory and tragic and
Yeah.
everything you could imagine. But when I first pitched and we did a piece at that point, there was so little information available. They
Mm.
didn't know where she was born. They didn't know when she died. They knew almost nothing about her personal life. Now,
Yeah.
Wikipedia has a very extensive selection of information about it. But still, I feel like we introduced our audiences to someone they should know, and
Yeah.
that feels good.
That's really cool. Okay, well, it's time now for the slow round. So
Uh-oh.
these are questions I ask everybody. Take as long
Okay.
as you want with them, or just rifle through them.
Okay.
I've shifted a few of them for you, but it's the same for everyone.
That's Mr. Duling to you.
What are your beliefs around inspiration?
Inspiration is the thing that makes us most human.
Hmm.
That's all I'm going to say.
That's a beautiful answer.
Hmm.
Yeah. Is there a piece of creative advice that you've especially resonated with, being as schooled as you are on all creative advice, perhaps? The world's most...
Trust your gut, or go with what you believe in.
Hmm.
And unless something really dramatically changes, you may have found your path.
Hmm. Do you have any advice for a new writer?
Oh, live your life. Listen to your life. Feel the pains. Enjoy the laughter.
Yeah.
Write it down.
Hmm. What is a creative goal of yours?
To share my love of theater and the people that I love in the theater with others, and hope that they find something that inspires them or touches them as well.
Yeah. Do you have a music artist that you've been into recently?
Recently, well, Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails and his other variations has been an inspiration for a long time. Uh, I also think that Serge Tankian in System of a Down is a truly gifted artist. I had the enormous pleasure many years ago of getting him down here to see the pageant.
Oh, cool.
And it was such a treat. And he just had a great time and invited me to one of his shows later. And that was like icing on the cake.
Nice.
Other musical, oh, gee. I think some of the work that our composers, in particularly Bill Liston and Starr and Jeff, they did the music for Vincent
Mhm.
this year. They also did Frida and Diego's music. They have created some truly memorable music that turns on the waterworks for me every time.
Yeah. Well, the last thing that I ask everyone is if you have anything to promote and where can people find you?
I live in Los Angeles. I had a play done in the Getty Center's Pacific Standard Time Festival in 24, and that was a truly wonderful, wonderful experience, and it was enjoyed by the audiences. The talkbacks were great fun. I had an all-star cast that I will always be indebted to, and it was a high point in my career as a playwright. Um, Unexpected because I'd begun work on that play 30 some years ago, continued to work on it, and had an opportunity to showcase it in Laguna Beach 14 years ago, and thought maybe that was it. But then we got a chance to actually do a short run in the Getty's Pacific Standard Time Festival and reprise it out at the Big Bear Theater Projects up in Big Bear. And that was another just great time. And I came out of that whole experience just floating on air. And 2 weeks later, there was something that happened in American politics that just took the wind out of my sails. And art will always be a coping mechanism for things that cannot be explained away.
Sure. Yeah.
Was there more to that question? Probably.
No, that was it. Well, I appreciate it, Dan. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for the insight, all of it, the work that you do. I'm a fan, and I'm thankful to be able to go and enjoy the pageant every year. And
Travis, it is a pleasure. It has been a pleasure to see you here at the pageant year after year and to get to know you and to watch you evolve. I wish there were a filter of some sort that you could suddenly manipulate my voice so that I wasn't choking up from tears, on the verge of tears, so much of this. But that comes with age and experience and humanity and parenting and
sure,
everything else.
Yeah.
And I'd rather be touched than untouched.
Yeah. That's beautiful, and it's really meaningful, and it means a lot to me, and I appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you, Travis. It's fun. I hope we get to do it again sometime.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening to my conversation with Dan Duling. I cannot recommend enough that you go and see the Pageant of the Masters in Laguna Beach. This year, next year, every year, it's a blast. It's inspiring. It's a lovely couple of hours out in the moonlight in Laguna Beach. It's romantic, and it's lovely. Go to dinner before, walk over. It's a great evening. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean a lot to me if you shared it with a friend and left a positive review. Those both really help the show. You can watch full video of all episodes on YouTube if you search the Freewrite. And if you have the means and would like to support myself and the show even more, you can check out my Patreon page. I post bonus content of this podcast there every week. And it's the most direct way to ensure that I'm able to continue making this show for you. Thank you again so much for listening this far. I really appreciate you taking the time, and I hope that you make some time for yourself to create something today.